many thanks for joining us with the news. I'm Shifarao Lako. The Federal Attorney General says the draft media proclamation will have great benefit to reflect the diversity of freedom and responsibility based on the profession, thereby building the media industry. The Attorney General, Gideon Timotheos, has explained the content and purpose of the draft proclamation. It is designed to ensure that the constitutional right to freedom of expression, press, and the media is properly institutionalized and legally protected following the Ethiopian constitution. The Ethiopian Broadcast Authority says Ethiopian media outlets should discharge their roles of protecting the nation and its people from any potential danger. The authority also says freedom of the press is crucial and journalists should work professionally and ethically. Kasam Chani has more on that.
Before 2018, one of the reasons why the people of Ethiopia grew increasingly resentful of the Zan regime, which consequently triggered national reform, was the stifling of freedom of expression and crackdown on the press. Director General of the Ethiopian Broadcast Authority, Getachew Dinko, states that the enactment of a repressive law, the imprisonment and intimidations of critical voices, and the closure of mainstream and various media outlets had contributed to the public grievances. Since the reform launched by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in April 2018, great improvements of the media professionals' freedom of expression has been shown by far.
As soon as Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was sworn in as Prime Minister in April 2018, in his inaugural speech, he made it clear that there was democratic deficit in the country, and he also made it very clear that the media were among the very important pillars for a democratic system to thrive. He said, I remember, that democracy without a free and vibrant media would be unthinkable. So his government embarked on reforming the political space in general, and 4 areas of reform were prioritized, and among these among these 4 would be media, along with electoral law, the civil society's regulation, and anti-terrorism law. So, these 4 areas of reform working together were believed to bring about a significant amount of difference in the democratic space, in the democratic exercises in the country. So government did not spend much time.
The Director General also stated that the reform which came into being in 2018 helped to repeal repressive laws and allowed banned media outlets to operate in the country. According to Getachew, to further move the country's development endeavor, there should be a liberalized media to ensure good governance, transparency and accountability.
So in principle, it is a media policy that comes first. And then the media law aligns itself with the policy, because the policy statement is the intent of the government. It shows the intent of the government. It, in broad sense, shows a relationship between the media and society. So what kind of normative theory of media would you like to follow? Will it be liberal? Will it be social responsibility?
By taking into consideration a new media proclamation, Getachew underscored, it is being prepared to fill the gaps of the previous laws.
Courts are expressing readiness to handle potential cases of complaints in connection to the upcoming general election. Stakeholders have discussed the importance of organizing seasonal courtrooms to address complaints amid the election. Alula Teklamarim has more on that.
It is to be recalled that Ethiopia's sixth general election date was scheduled for June 2021. Part of these stakeholders discussed the importance of organizing seasonal courtrooms to address complaints amid the upcoming general election. Solomon Radawaktola, Vice President of the Federal Supreme Court, highlighted the training's vitality to create common understanding among stakes with connection to the upcoming general election.
Courts have greater roles in handling as well as addressing complaints in the election process. That's why we organize trainings for the relevant stakes in the election. Courts also need to be psychologically ready to handle any case in connection to the election process. We also share experience with regional Supreme Courts that help us develop common understanding on national issues.
Meanwhile, law experts express the need to strengthen the nation's justice system to undertake fair and democratic election across the country.
Any grievance or complaint in relation to voters and candidates' registrations will be addressed in the Constituency Grievance Committee within the National Election Board that should be supported by the courtrooms. The federal and regional first instance courts have thus the mandate to address complaints in connection to the election. The Grievance Management Committee to be organized comprises of legal experts and political parties. This committee is expected to address challenges and complaints that potentially happen during the election process. Complaints could either come from voters or candidates.
The National Election Board is mandated to manage the whole process successfully, starting from voters' registration to announcing final results.
Now, having received Djibouti's highest military medal on Sunday, Ethiopia's Army Chief of Staff, General Birhanu Jula, has arrived in Addis Ababa. Arriving at Bole International Airport, Minister of Defense Kanaya Deta and other Defense Force senior officials have welcomed the general. Talking to the Ethiopian news agency, General Birhanu said the Ethiopia's Defense Force avoids the security threat of neighboring countries by implementing successful law enforcement operation in the state of Tigray. According to Birhanu, the Defense Force is hunting the wanted criminals in the state.
አገራችን ላይ ጦርነት ሲነሳ ትንሽ መደናገጥ ነበራቸው።
Neighboring countries were frightful while we were operating the law enforcement operation in the state of Tigray. The Djiboutian has been commenting this risk clearly. They have been also closely following the result of this operation. We concluded this mission within 2 weeks. We are now undertaking hunting responsible war criminals in this region. Hunting criminals is also successful.
Djibouti's highest military medal bestowed upon him recognizes the effective conclusion of the law enforcement operation by the Ethiopian Defense Force, he also said.
When we finalized the law enforcement operation, there was no significant harm in neighboring countries. Neighboring countries believe that the law enforcement operation brings advantage in the whole region. The Djibouti government highest military medal is showing the effective work of Ethiopian government and the nation's defense force. This military medal promotes the remarkable law enforcement operation in the state of Tigray.
General Birhanu stressed the highest Djibouti military medal awarded by the Djibouti's Army Chief of Staff, General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, also recognizes the Ethiopian Defense Force members. Have a listen.
ሜዳሊያውን ለኔ ስጡ እኔ ልቀበለው እንጂ ሜዳሊያው ያገሪቱ ነው የመከላከያ ሰራዊት
Receiving the military medal in my hand, I would say this recognizes Ethiopia's government as well as the nation's defense force at all. This is a recognition of heroines and heroes in the law enforcement operation. I think this medal is the honor of our country and Ethiopia's defense force. This stimulates us to do better in the near future.
Policy Matters is a conversation platform which aims to provide reasoned analysis and context to the activities, reforms, and policies of the federal government of Ethiopia. Exploring various reforms the government is undertaking, the conversation platform aspires to enable nuanced and informed understanding.
After 2 years of work, how do you see today the impact of the policy and also the ongoing law, and what kind of changes are now being achieved or in the process of being implemented?
I think the change is huge, and it starts with the commitment of the government. The government has been very serious, and my Prime Minister has been very clear and consistent with the freedom that the media needs to be granted. The media deserved that sort of, they needed it, they deserved that sort of freedom for them to be able to, in a meaningful way, play their role in the process of democratization in general.
How do you see the restructuring also in comparison?
A government is ready to let it go and then lead the industry by itself. And this is a very important step.
Now, moving on, the Ethiopian National Defense Force has arrested a lot of the main leaders of TPLF, including Sibhat Nega, former president of Tigray State, Abai Woldu, and former deputy president of the region, Abraham Takastam. Legal expert Chernet Hordova says this measure is a big success of the law enforcement measure upon the perpetrators. Emmanuel Jorge presents the story as follows.
Explaining the legal aspect of the current situation of hunting perpetrators that hinder the reform process in the law enforcement measure, the legal expert Chernet Hordova said it is a significant step forward in the law enforcement measure and implies the progressive forces can work in freedom.
The TPLF, who is against the reform, could make the reform activities look like less significant. However, it was part of the reformists during the emergence of the reform. They could do this because they were well organized and powerful, for they have built big capacity by controlling the country's financial and security institutions. But the victory in the law enforcement operation could change the reform, which came out of internal and external pressure, into complete replacement. The progressive forces have overwhelmed on those who are against the reform. There are certain things which we gained and we are afraid of by the domination of the progressive forces internally and externally. This operation is successful because it could smash out the 45-year project of deconstructing Ethiopia, and finally, the executives of the project are under control.
Chernet added that the government should focus on ensuring accountability and reassuring that the government will not be ventured by such corrupts.
Not only arresting them before law, but ensuring the rule of law should be executed properly. They should compensate the wealth that they looted in the last 30 years. The government should organize the structure. It cannot be done in one directorate. The government should work hard to return the wealth that is stolen from the nation by mobilizing several experts together. What has been permitted in our country is a state capture. So we have to secure that government institutions can never be under control of such corrupts. We have to make our country a place not to enjoy life after committing such atrocities against humanity. The government should work on a detailed reform in the courts and in the Attorney General, as it did in the security institutions. Then after doing this, we have to go to the next step of the reform.
It was learned that the head of Defense Force Deployment Directorate, Brigadier General Tesfaye Ayale, announced that they took measures on orchestrators of the attack on the National Defense Force and the military leaders.
The Ministry of Agriculture says adequate preparations have been made for this year's integrated irrigation development and natural conservation. The ministry planned to protect over 2 million hectares of land in soil and water conservation this dry season. Meanwhile, the Amhara State Agricultural Bureau says the focus of this year's irrigation development and natural resources conservation activities have been identified and going operational. Goshu Maliso has more.
The Ministry of Agriculture said adequate preparations have been made for this year's irrigation development and natural conservation activities. Sani Reddy, State Minister for Agriculture, told ETV that the ministry has planned to cover 2 million hectares of land in irrigation works this dry season.
በዚህ ዓመት 2.5 ሚሊዮን ያህል መሬት በበጋ ስነ አካላዊ የአፈርና ውሃ ጥበቃ ስራዎች ይሸፈናል።
This year we plan to cover 2.5 million hectares of land in irrigation activities and 1.1 million hectares of new soil and water conservation schemes. Close to 1 million hectare works will be done in repairing the previous year's work. The other 400,000 hectares of land is projected to recover in a way free of human and animal contact. In order to achieve our goal, enough preparation is made and close to 8,000 experts have received trainings. Until now, 900,000 hectares of land is prepared and we propose 9 million people will participate. Oromia region has already started and the Amhara region will start irrigation development and natural conservation tomorrow and the rest will continue accordingly. Expressing preparations to do better, the Amhara State Agricultural Bureau said that the focus of this year's irrigation development and natural resource conservation activities have been identified and being operational.
We set up focusing on areas for irrigation development and natural resource protection. Our prime focus is to develop wetland areas including Tana and where dams are located. Unless we work hard on natural conservation on Tana Lake and Mount Choke, the land hyacinth is threatening Lake Tana and others. We have discussed to reduce the deforestation activities and impacts on Mount Choke and Guna with the community as well. We will work hard on income generating activities to the community.
He said the ongoing irrigation development and natural resource conservation in the state will be done in prioritizing job creation activities for youths. If
the irrigation development activities get done well, the area will be green to be translated to income generation. We are witnessing that many youths who have been engaged in fattening, honey farm, vegetable and development are very effective. Unless irrigation development is considered as one way, there will be a problem on its sustainability. In our directives that we set up, any irrigation development and natural conservation work should be linked with job creation activities.
The people should repeat the support shown during the law enforcement campaign in irrigation development and natural resource conservation, he added.
Ethiopia is in the law enforcement operation for over 1 month, and many of our citizens' attention was diverted to the occasion happened in northern Ethiopia. Now, the law enforcement operation is finalized and people are coming back to the development endeavors. Irrigation development and natural conservation is the next front for the people that need a strong commitment and collaboration.
Preparations are also underway to prevent the spread of coronavirus pandemic amid natural resource conservation activities, it was learned.